Cultivating Authentic Universal Energy podcast. Join us, Lisa Miller-Aces and Michele Valcastro, as we dive into the vibrant world of energy, intuition, and spirit. Our journey through mediumship, psychic insights, Reiki, and the magic of crystals is not just about exploring the unseen. It's about connecting deeply with the universe and ourselves. Lisa is a seasoned medium and author, and she brings the wisdom of her books, being light-driven and spiritual guidance, trusting the voice within, to life. She teaches us to embrace our intuition safely and joyfully. Michele, a sensitive intuitive, and the soul behind the Violet Butterfly Metaphysical Healing Center, shares her journey from her spiritual awakening to creating a sanctuary for others to discover and nurture their spiritual gifts. Together, we're more than just co-hosts. We're guides on this adventure into universal energy, sharing our experiences and the transformative power it holds. We are thrilled to invite you to our first ever CARE retreat in Safety Harbor, Florida, this April from the 19th to the 21st. If you'd like to dive deeper with us, you can visit Lisa at tocommunicate.net and Michele at thevioletbutterflymhc.com. Let's embrace the energy together. Hi, Lisa.
So today's Friday the 13th, for the day that we're recording this, Friday the 13th.
It sure is. Wow, look at that.
I always think it's a lucky day.
You know what? I don't know that I have an opinion.
Well, as a kid growing up, people would be all superstitious, don't walk under the ladders, things like that.
Yeah, the whole black cat thing.
Well, I love black cats, but
they are some of the sweetest kitties ever.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, happy Friday the 13th to you and to everyone who might be listening.
So we had a little bit of a get together, you and I and a few friends, after you came home from your summer travels. And one of our mutual friends asked you a question about, were you seeing any kind of a pattern in the readings that you were giving people?
And yes, and I gave it some thought since our last conversation. So the first thing I could definitely say was the only constant was change and big change. So, and that includes people transitioning. So that's part of, because part of my services, it deals with the mediumship. So people come to me sometimes for that reason as well.
Yep.
So it's been a lot of changes, people changing their careers, upside down, inside out, backwards, going from one genre all the way up to another. And one of the examples I can give is maybe they were in insurance and they ended up going towards dog grooming or something like that, like totally different areas of that thing. But the main thing was people were wanting to find more joy in their life. Now, after our conversation last, I gave it some thought. There is another pocket of people that would come that were already on a balanced path. And these people, and there's just a few that I can think of, they were so excited because their manifestations had come true, but there was a slight fear that the other foot was going to drop. And I'm like, no, you don't want to fear. Why would you have fear? You want to enjoy the moment, keep creating, and not add to it that, something else would be, coming along. So you want to go, stay present and enjoy, stay in joy.
Yep. So as you're talking, I'm looking at one of my astrology apps because some of what we're seeing, whether it's doing readings or in our personal lives, are these shifts. And the other day I wrote down in my journal to look at Uranus. So the planet Uranus, however you want to pronounce it, is about.
Uranus, that always makes me laugh
I know,
because I'm
right?
immature.
It's like anytime someone says poop, what happens? You laugh. So, anyway, it got me digging into some of my astrology books. And I've gotten away from studying astrology, but I'm feeling kind of pulled towards it again. But this book here that I looked at is Uranus, Freedom from the Known. And it's by Jeffrey Wolf Green. He's like the founder of the evolutionary astrology practice. Anyway, some of these abrupt changes and moving from what people have known into these places and these areas of joy is in part because of the work that this planet is doing for us. So it's not happening like to us, it's happening for us.
Well, it's all connected, which is, the basis of everything. We're individual, yet we're
Yep.
connected.
Yep.
In June, I channeled a guided meditation to assist with change. I was guided to do that because I already knew that this was going to be a very transitional few months that we're in. I mean, we've always been for the past several years that we can remember or recognize, but it was even to put it on steroids a little bit. So
Sure.
I will put that on the bottom of our notes, a link to it, because for whatever reason, I feel compelled to share it to whoever feels that they could use it.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
also, so it is everybody. We are working our individual path. We're finding changes to find joy, which would be the best case scenario, is to look at these changes and try and find a more joyful avenue with that. If you look at the teachings of Abraham Hicks, you find that you will follow joy will bring you to the path of what you're trying to manifest.
Right. So one of the interesting things about what I've been reading about um, this particular planet and the way it works is we have talked about our domestication in the past from the four agreements, and this planet helps us move away from that domestication and more towards our authentic selves.
Nice. And what has it been doing during this time? Has it been in a
Well, it's been doing a lot, but it just went into retrograde in Taurus the 1st of September. So if anyone is noticing that they're looking more inwards and they're noticing things that they don't like or don't feel good or don't feel like they resonate with anymore, that and you're shedding what doesn't feel good, that's part of this process.
getting rid of what and I can recognize that because people have said to me, some of my friends that I used to hang around with are no longer are in my circle anymore. We kind of grew apart.
Yep. Well, and that happens a lot when people are starting to live their best lives in the highest vibration that they can. You know, they end up losing touch with people that, again, either party, it doesn't feel as good anymore. So you may not resonate with the way someone is feeling to you because they've either raised their vibration, well, one of you has raised your vibration and it just doesn't feel good anymore. And that
There's
it's
change.
not,
That is the
yes.
constant. The constant is change.
And it's, again, not right or wrong. This isn't about finger pointing or blaming. It's just what happens when there's a self growth. There's shifts. You walk more towards your authenticity. So,
Right. And that also changes over time throughout the years, what it is
Sure.
that you find authentic about or what you find a passion about and how you look at it and how you view it. So that's something that you can, be easy with yourself if you find that your opinions are changing or if you find that, you're just becoming more emotional.
Hmm. So
Passionate is a good word. Passionate about
passionate
something.
is it, and it's our passion that really should be helping us towards our authenticity. Because you're not going to have a true passion for something that's not a
Hmm.
part of your authentic self. There we go. Get my words out. So
So,
you know that things in my life have taken a number of drastic turns. Um, and one
yeah.
of the things I thought was super interesting um, when I was looking into the astrology is that I have the Uranus transiting in a triangle with my natal Pluto. Now, that's a lot of words, and it doesn't really super matter what that means, other than Pluto represents your soul and like the path that you've been on, and Uranus is freedom from the known. Okay. So you have one planet that's saying, okay, we're going to start unraveling the things that you've known associated with your soul. But it's like your humanness, right? We're unraveling the humanness to get to what's authentic to your soul. So, one of the things that happened um, in the last couple of months was that my husband hurt his back. And why I'm sharing this specifically is because of the date that when I look at my chart, it's there's no accident here that this is a really good example. So on June 22nd of this year, my husband decided that he couldn't work because he was in too much pain. He had a condition with his low back with one of his vertebrae sliding forward, and it started pinching the nerves in his legs or going to his legs. Okay, so that is the exact date that the transit of Uranus was strongest with a trine of my natal Pluto. So this transit sparks the urge for self-transformation and regeneration. So there's conflicts and drastic changes that come up during this period, and you're likely to have new spiritual insights during the period or find that you will be different, find that your will to be different and to find a unique pathway forward is more powerful than usual. So I know with the many stories that we've shared and people that we've individually talked to, it's not an accident that there's so much drastic change going on. And for those of us that can be super left brain and analytical, this astrology dive for me over the last few days was enough to be like, yeah, this has a big part of what's happening for us.
Astrology is a huge key. It's definitely a go-to for many people,
Mm-hmm.
for that, especially like you said, because you like to analyze and get a reason for things. It's definitely a good synchronicity that you can see. I bet you if you even go further, because astrology is so deep. I
Mm-hmm.
think we could just like tip the iceberg of it and and it gets to what you just said or what you just shared, how influential it was. Now, that was the date that he hurt himself. What was the date of his surgery? Was any of that synchronistic, or you didn't get a chance to look at that?
I didn't get that far.
Okay.
Because for me, astrology turns into um, a rabbit hole. I find it so fascinating
Okay.
because it's like this connection and that connection. So I didn't get that far. But you talk and I'll look. How about that?
Okay. So I'm going to look at my cards I first put. I picked some three cards And I picked them with the intention of our readers in talking about change. So that was the intention of the cards. It wasn't for myself, it wasn't for Michele, it was for the readers. And we could probably all kind of relate to them as we look at them. The very first card that I picked, and this is from a healing deck, an old one of Doreen Virtue's. Let's see where I have it. It was an Angel Therapy healing deck. It was solar plexus chakra. And it says, it is safe for you to be powerful, to take charge of your life in positive ways. Anytime we make a change, we feel it in our solar plexus that it kind of needs to happen. And we know that things are going to get a little rough before they get better. So this kind of, I think, resonates with the whole idea of, okay, noticing the signs, feeling it within yourself. Yes, this is a solar plexus issue. Now, if I look at the second card, which is typically where we are, so one is past, one is present, and one will be the future, okay? So the present card, I get the God box card, which I love. And it says, write any worries, concerns, or desires on a piece of paper that you put into a special container called a God box as a way of letting go and allowing the divine to help you. Well, the reason I like this as well is when you're dealing with change, I find it's very important not to dwell on the issues at hand or go and overanalyze things. I think it's a really good idea to hand over your worries in the God box, leave them in there, and focus on what it is you want, the feeling of what you want to the outcome to be. It's kind of like creating it in before it even happens. Sit with it and allow yourself to let your emotions of joy lead you down the path of change. Now, you stay on that path. Where would we be when we're done? This is the future card. It's healing away addictions. Again, a really nice outcome. And what it says, it's time to let go of behaviors that are blocking you from your heart's desire. Ask Archangel Raphael to help you with this healing. And it's healing away addictions. So addictions could be patterns or patterns that we've had, before. You can interpret it that way. So I didn't look at them until I just read them. And I think they're perfect when you're dealing with change.
Absolutely. Because, you and I have talked about some of my patterns of resisting change, and to be able to set aside that resistance and allow the change to kind of flow with the fact that, we have faith in our safety and our security,
Yeah.
that
It's
it's
really, and
okay.
yeah. And of course, and I feel like a broken record. It's so important, especially during these times, to have a maintenance program or a maintenance practice for yourself, whether it be meditation, walking in nature, so that you can grab your balance. Because as life changes, we need to change with it, and our balance is off. The things that we used to do before may not resonate or get you that balance that you need again. So you always have to check in with yourself and make the adjustment to get balance. And that's what we call journey surfing. You're just constantly balancing through the journey.
So
So what did you find?
why don't we go back, and let's talk a little bit about that, because we might have some new listeners that don't know what your practices are like. Would you share what some of your maintenance
Sure.
practices are?
Absolutely. Like I said, I do like to study some of the work of Abraham Hicks. So I do find I incorporate some of those teachings within my practice. And part of that is when you get up in the morning, you're not supposed to check your phone, which I'm bad at. So you're supposed to kind of like try and stay with a moment or two of appreciation, which is really challenging for me because I have my cat always attacking my face because she wants to get up and she wants to start the routine. So at any rate, trying to stay in a little bit of a state of appreciation for a couple of breaths, and then go and I take a salt bath where at that time I'm cleaning my aura, I'm cleaning my chakras. It's 99% intention to do something. So is it the fact that I'm taking this bath that I'm cleaning my aura and chakras? No, it's the intention that when I get into that bathtub, that salt or Epsom salt and the sea salts that I put in are going to do that. So when I was working and as a working mom, I didn't have time to take that leisurely bath. I may have to take a quick shower. You can still do it then. You put the intention that that's going to happen when the water runs over you. And you could even put a bath bomb in the shower, some kind of aromatherapy to help you with that visualization. Then I go down and I meditate if I have time. And of course, I say my prayers, I meditate, and maybe take a walk. That sounds like a lot. You don't need to do all of that. I am retired, semi-retired now, so I am blessed and fortunate to have this time to do these things. When I am pressed for time, I may have already said I do these things every day. I may have to go, okay, bubble up, buttercup, let's get going. So you make an affirmation that'll work for you. For me, just bubbling up would mean I'm going to take my aura, I'm going to clean it up. I had a good friend that was my Reiki teacher that she used to do that before she got in every car. The fact that I may snap my fingers, it means that I'm kind of like changing what was in the routine of my aura. So I'm just going to snap it away and say, bubble it up. So walking one day on a causeway, I heard in my ear, bubble up, buttercup, root down, rise up. It made me laugh. So by laughing, you also raise your vibration. But what it meant to me is that rooting down is grounding yourself, rising up is elevating the vibe. So it was a very quick way for me to just visualize and say, okay, I'm clean and bright, let's go. You always have access. If you have no time in the morning to do these things, you always have access to your breath, to your thoughts, to your visualization. Maybe you rushed, you had to get the kids off to school, and you find yourself at work and you don't have time for any of this. In your mind, you say a quick reset with a big focused breath. Put your feet on the ground like you're rooted, and you ask your guides or your angels to assist you in cleaning your vibe and allowing you to stay present during the day. There are many ways to do this, but they have to be meaningful to you. It's 99% intention, and it's all good. So that's my suggestion in a very high level way.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. Maybe you can explain what are the difference between your prayers and meditation?
Oh, it's a big difference. Your prayers are a focused thought with feeling, okay, in another word. And when I meditate, I quiet my mind and I allow my mind to go quiet and allow inspiration to come to me. So with a prayer, you're putting it out, and with the meditation, it's coming back to you.
So it's like a transmitter and a receiver?
Perhaps, yeah.
Like a two-way radio?
I think we are always two-way radios.
Well, and I guess that's why I'm asking the question that I'm asking. Because sometimes I will be sitting in relative silence, but there's a conversation that happens. It's not just my mind is completely quiet. Sometimes I have questions, so I ask questions. I make comments. I ask for things. So just looking for some clarification.
So in my book, Spiritual Guidance Trusting the Voice Within, it's an interactive workbook. It's geared towards opening people up so that they can make their connection to their spirit guide, to their higher self, to allow themselves to notice the signs when someone is answering them. There is a vibrational difference between launching and receiving. But I do believe from the bottom of my heart, everybody is a channel. I think as we shift and we go into this next phase of the global shift of consciousness, we're going to find more and more people doing it. And they do it in many different ways. So my advice would be get a grounding practice, get a way to so that you can maintain your energy. You can go through the change a little bit easier and thrive, basically. That's my thoughts around it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a practice. Change is never easy, but it doesn't have to be as hard as we make it.
There
Do
are
you have any cards?
There are times that I think when we talk, it is in such different language that neither one of us knows what the other is actually saying.
Oh, you didn't get what I said?
Oh, I get what you said. I think you were saying that to you didn't necessarily agree with my approach to my conversation and my meditation, because you were saying that there's a huge difference between launching and listening. That's what I heard.
Well, there's not a huge difference. There's a vibrational shift. It's not a huge difference. It's actually very subtle between launching and receiving. And everybody's a little bit different. Not everybody's going to do it the way I do it, but everybody can do it in their own way, in their own fashion. So I wasn't discounting what you're doing or what you're saying at all. I'm just explaining there is a difference. And the inspiration that's received is typically of a higher vibration and something positive. Can you recognize that?
Oh, I'm perfectly comfortable with my ability to have conversations with my guides and my higher self. I was basically asking for clarification for people that haven't listened to us before, you know? And
So I hope I was clear. If I wasn't clear, you can set me straight. I'm okay with that.
I have no idea. I honestly
Do you want
don't.
to pick a card for it? All right, I'll pick a card and see if I'll pick a different card and see if we can get some clarity on on some of the conversation. I'm going to go to fairies. I'll go to the fairy deck. Let's get some clarity here. Oh, we get the sun. It's a beautiful card with sunflowers on it.
Nice.
And it says plans that work out perfectly, amazing ideas that lead to rewards and commendations, gratitude for blessings of life. It's really important going through any change to have your gratitude going. The first thing I said when we wake up in the morning to have a little gratitude. So I think that would help with getting those plans to work out right.
Nice.
Did you pull any cards?
Oh, I did. I pulled some cards from, excuse me, the Whispers of Lord Ganesha deck. I love these cards.
Love them.
And so I pulled 3, and I don't think it's necessarily past, present, future. I think this is telling a story. So the first one is literally guidance. So you have a young Ganesha here who's surrounded by what appears to be his guides. The second card, sorry, I can't manage to pick it up. Uh-oh. Is courage. So, courage to be exactly where you are and move with the shifts and the changes that are here and about. And I think this is, speaking to me very specifically with our conversation, that don't discount my experience, because Lisa has different words and a different experience, and her guidance in her book is different. It doesn't invalidate whatever somebody else's experiences. And that's one of the reasons that we have this podcast, because we are very different. We are friends. Our approach to things sometimes are opposite. Now, the last card is concentration. And I think this is really about, focusing when you're doing what you're doing. That you're not distracted by whatever. Set your intention to look for your guidance, have courage in it, and sit with it. It's not always going to be an instantaneous kind of thing.
It's not instantaneous, no, but it's one that needs to have some faith and courage, like you said, to move forward with it.
Yeah.
So those cards are very nice. Your interpretation was good. I enjoyed it.
Love these cards. Love the pictures.
Mm-hmm. And it's true. We have different approaches to things, and both things can be true. It depends on what resonates with you.
Absolutely.
Follow your joy, follow your path, and what works for you.
So before we started, I pulled a card from The Universe Has Your Back deck, and it says, "My happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe." So if for some reason, the word universe doesn't work for you, you can substitute God, goddess, whatever in there. But we're all a piece of that. We're all a piece of that universe, that one energy. So, the one card that came
Absolutely.
out of the deck.
I think that sums it up, actually. It is. You need to have faith in the universe. You need to have faith that everything happens for a reason. The
Mm-hmm.
bad, the good, the ugly, the great, the fantastic,
Well,
it's all
again,
part of this growth.
yeah, I think so much of it really is for us, not to us.
Oh, yes, it's for the soul growth on this path, on this journey. Yes,
Yep.
we do find that we're in the mix with other people as along the way, and different people come and they go into your path or they go into your journey, and sometimes there's synchronicities of those people that come to you in your social circles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the idea is to pay attention to that. What are you
Mhm.
noticing, like this repeating pattern? Maybe it's time to either embrace what it is or recognize what's really kind of being shown to you.
And I think the recognizing how you're feeling with the authenticity really does resonate with me. And in our first topic, where we said whether the clients were noticing that they were making a lot of changes, it's because they were noticing that within them, things weren't resonating like they used to. They needed to have the change. They needed to find their passion. They needed to find their joy. And what they were typically doing before wasn't working, and or they were dealing with a loss of a loved one that changed their environment totally. They no longer had that comfort that they had before with someone with them, and they needed to find that peace, that joy again in a different way. So again, dealing with change and grief at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So just noticing and knowing that there's faith to move through this. There's
So a thought that just kind of like popped in was, even if you haven't lost somebody, um, there are things that shift in our lives that still can be and should be grieved. You know, Sometimes it's a loss of a job, a career, um, a dream, that no longer fulfilled what you thought it should. Take the time to go through the process. Most of you know that I closed the physical location of the violet butterfly back in May. Um, Interestingly enough, a month before my husband stopped working, at least temporarily, because he hurt his back. Um, Looking back, and of course, our hindsight is amazing sometimes, the universe was giving me all the signs I needed at the time to say, okay, this isn't as fulfilling as it was. It doesn't feel good anymore. Let's shift the way we're doing this business. I had no idea that I was basically being set up in a good way to be able to be a caretaker for a number of months, that if I still had the physical store, I wouldn't have been able to do the way I did
Right.
it. So,
Yeah.
you know, you just don't know what some of the shifts and the changes are really, what path it's going to lead you down. And I'm grateful every day that I listened to the feelings of discomfort with what was happening with the business.
And I think you looked relieved before he had this situation. When you were closing it, you looked relieved afterwards because you were following that instinct. I mean, almost like a weight was lifted.
Yeah. So since then, I've gone even further. I have literally dissolved my corporation. I am truly working on letting it all go.
You and this is where the best time to create is. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got rid of all this stuff, and now the
Yeah.
fun will begin.
Yeah. You know, but again, it's like taking the time to notice how you feel. Sometimes it's making some really, really difficult decisions. For me, it was
Hmm.
difficult to say, okay, I'm not renewing my lease. And it was difficult to finally decide to dissolve the corporation. But until I was able to close down those chapters, there was no way that I would have a blank piece of paper to write a new one.
Right. And I can speak from some experience because my husband had a family had a restaurant in New Jersey for over 20 years. For I think it was 30 something years. They had
Wow.
gone bankrupt, went under with the recession that happened in the early like 2010 ish area. I don't remember the dates to be actual. And it was a very difficult time in business and finance. But once it was done, it was a relief to have it over, to start fresh, to be anew. And there's one thing that I will always acknowledge is that the morning, the sun will come up again the next morning. We were
Mm-hmm.
always okay. There's always a fear. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. I won't, that lack mentality that we all have been brought up with. But we're always okay. This universe does have your back. What was that card? Can you read that again? Because it was a good card, and I think it holds value to be read again. The universe does have our back when we need it. Did you ever realize like there's times when you didn't have money for something and it was an important thing, maybe it was for school or whatever it may be, and in the 11th hour you get a check for the money that you need that you weren't expecting, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
things happen. You have to not limit yourself to what you think is possible and be open to receiving anything the universe can bring to you in any of these changes, in any of the creations. Is something that you look at what was uncomfortable, you leave it behind. You try, and you can use the God box if you have fears or worries, to give it to somebody that you trust and love to have your back, and start following your joy and help you find what it is you want to create for the next step. What was that card that was so cute? Do you have it?
Yep. It's my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe.
And follow your joy and have that faith. Know that the sun's
Mm-hmm.
going to come up again tomorrow morning.
Yep. And I'll just say that it's really important to have the faith that the sun comes up, because some of these changes do kind of suck. They do feel
It sucks walking through it.
uncomfortable. Yeah. But know that all of these changes really are for our growth. And I personally find it beneficial to look back every once in a while and be like, hey, this is how far I've come in 5 years. Like, I don't even recognize myself from when I first opened up the Violet Butterfly and I started collaborating with a number of people. I'm different in a good way. So, you know,
We look at our friends when we went out to dinner, we were all like saying how much growth there's been for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have collective friends to share that with.
Yeah. And some of it is short term, quick growth, and some of it is longer term, slow and steady, but don't discount any of it.
So let's put this to a close. Do you have any thoughts on that, or how to wrap up, or should we just pick a card and let the card wrap it up?
I'd pick a card.
All right. I'm going to go with angels.
Hold on. But go ahead. All right. So again, the universe had your back deck. When I accept the love of the universe as my primary teacher, I will always be guided back to the light.
That's a beautiful, perfect card for this. I love that. All right. Well, I picked one. It was the 6 of air from the angel deck. And it says, things are looking up. The end of a difficult situation. Take a trip. So
there you go.
I love it.
Sounds like that's a wrap.
Okay. Well, for now, I hope you're all well. And I will put some guided meditation in the link below so we can help deal with change and, stay positive the best you can and keep your balance.
All right. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you about your experiences. Leave us a comment below. You can find more information about Lisa and her offerings on her website, 2communicate.net. Michelle's shop is the Violet Butterfly Metaphysical Healing Center in Palm Harbor, Florida. You can find more information at thevioletbutterflymhc.com, including the online store.